Now, joining me now to give an insight into what President Trump is thinking is Sebastian Gorka, the Deputy Assistant to President Trump and the Senior Director for Counterterrorism, joining us live from the White House. Dr. Gorka, what is Donald Trump thinking by imposing these tariffs around the world? Because he's throwing the markets into chaos in America, isn't he?
One thing, fair and free trade. If you look at the actual underlying figures, I think he pulled out a chart today in his discussion with the Irish Premier. Just outrageous figures. For example, our northerly neighbours, the Canadians, putting 200-300% tariffs on dairy products. So that's just not on. So he wants a level playing field where products will compete against each other at the actual prices, not as some kind of government-imposed sanction on friends or people who are meant to be our friends. So yes, the president is leveling the playing field.
And we're told that he sees UK taxes like VAT, value-added tax in this country, which is applied across all things, most things bought in shops. He sees that as a tariff on US goods. Is that right?
Well, look, he has a rather traditional attitude to value and to taxes. There's even quite a bit of excitement here with the concept of getting rid of the Inland Revenue Service and saying, going back to how it was originally a century ago, where it was simply tariffs that were the income stream for the federal government. And outside of that, human beings were allowed to live their lives. So yes, we want to have fair trade and free trade, and we're not interested in having people who say that they're our friends, our partners, our allies, use tactics which really distort market values.
Yes. How has the UK response gone down in the building you're in, the White House? Europe has slapped £22 billion worth of tariffs back on US imports to the EU. The UK has stood back and said, we're having a cool head while condemning global tariffs. We're not retaliating against America. Is that the right approach?
Look, we are very relaxed here as well inside the White House. If you just roll the clock back a few years before the horrific Biden administration, within 2 years of being in office, the U.S. economy under President Trump in his first term wasn't simply the most powerful and biggest economy we had ever had since the establishment of the Republic. It was the biggest economy the world had ever seen. That's the power of the MAGA effect, the Trump effect. So no panic here. Everybody's very relaxed because we know that this country is being run by the arch deal maker who loves America, loves our workers, loves our factories, loves our products. So what will come. And I think people across the pond on either side will come to their senses when it comes to free and fair trade.
So what does the UK need to do to lift these 25% tariffs on UK steel and aluminium?
Oh, as an employee of the federal government working in the White House, I am not going to give advice to 10 Downing Street. Sorry, that's a little bit outside of my remit.
Were you in the Oval today, the Oval Office, to watch that meeting with the Irish Premier, Michael Martin?
I wasn't. I was walking in and out of the West Wing today doing things related to national security. I did catch a little bit of the discussion on television, and it looked like a great encounter, especially the comment about the Vice President's socks being a little bit distracting.
There was the remarks on the socks, but also I thought the meat of it was to say that, why are US companies headquartering themselves in Ireland, and he almost said we may have to drain your country of US companies to Mr. Martin.
Look, we want US companies to function in a way that is good for America. I don't think that's controversial. The president wants Americans to be working for American companies in America. It would be weird if he said something else. The Irish can have Irish companies. The Americans can have theirs. Shouldn't that be the way of the world? I think that's the message of Brexit, isn't it?
Yeah, he seemed quite keen on, he didn't like the EU much. He was quite critical again of the EU on planning issues over a hotel he's got. And he was moving towards, and perhaps that leaves the UK well placed in terms of outside the European Union.
As a child of those who escaped communism in Central Europe, I would tend to agree with those who wish to push back on centralization, on socialization. One of the things people miss about this administration is we're about sovereignty. We want every nation to have a representative government and to exercise sovereignty. I think America First and Brexit are therefore kissing cousins in that respect.
OK. And some good news on the issue of the hoped-for ceasefire with Ukraine agreeing the terms imposed on them by America. What kind of pressure will he be putting on Russia? He suggested he'll be ramping up the heat on Moscow.
Well, I think the president was very clear with regards to the economic tools, the trade tools that are open to him as the president of the largest economy in the world. Hopefully it won't come to that. Hopefully we will see both sides to this absolute tragic conflict decide that it is time to stop the bloodshed. So he has a massive toolbox, including a panoply of tools. Hopefully they won't have to be deployed, because whether it's the children of Russia or the children of Ukraine, we've got to stop the meat grinder.
Well, that was really clear when he said 2,500 young men died last week, and he's seen the butchering, the kids dying. I think that's where it comes from with Trump, doesn't it? He wants to stop the killing. Just briefly, before you go, Dr. Gorka, what's in the toolbox? What kind of pressure points can he use on Moscow?
It would be irresponsible of me to talk about the things the president could do, but I will just say he made comments with regards to the energy sector. I think he knows exactly what he's talking about. Remember, he's been one of the most successful businessmen in the private sector for more than half a century. So the tools are many, and they are multifarious.
And just finally, if he gets there, if he can get to ceasefire and maybe a peace deal in Ukraine, should he get the Nobel Peace Prize? It's being talked about in some parts of social media.
By rights, of course, he should. However, if you look at who the Nobel Committee have been handing out the prize to, like toffees of recent years, they haven't done a great credit to the value of that brand. So if they wish to recover the renommee of the Nobel Peace Prize, perhaps that is one of the quickest ways to do it.
OK. Dr. Gorka, thank you for joining us live from the White House. We really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us tonight on Farage on GB News. That's Sebastian Gorka there, the Deputy Assistant to President Trump and the Senior Director for Counter-Terrorism at the White House.